Give us 60 minutes and we'll give you Nelson Radio every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. on KTLK AM 1150. With 29 years in the mortgage business and an array of top-level guests visiting the show, Nelson is in a unique position to bring you cutting-edge information on real estate, business, finance, and law. If you have any questions for Nelson or any of his guests, give him a call at 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. Or check him out online at nelsonradio.com.
Nelson Radio.
You're listening to Nelson Radio. I'm excited to be with our special guest host, Mike Fell from the law office of Michael L. Fell. This segment presented by our show sponsor, Lion Air Museum at John Wayne Airport, paying tribute to the aviators of World War II through the Korean War. To find out more about Lion Air Museum or Nelson Radio or the law office of Michael Fell, give us a shout. 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136, or click on nelsonradio.com. Mike, I'm excited because every time we have the guru on radio, you get excited. You just
are you kidding me? And today, we're surrounded by, about a dozen planes. This is so cool. I don't know how to fly one, but I think after the show, I may just hop in the cockpit and give it a whirl, you know?
So these are vintage planes from World War II. We've got the Fuddy Duddy, one of the B-17 bombers that's still intact. There are only 10 of them left in the world right now that are flying. All the planes here are routinely exercised. They all fly. I haven't been in any of them, but it's still on my dream sheet. So
well, you can hop in with me. I'll take you on a.
Yeah,
I guess
I'm certain you would.
But
That'll
the cool
be a
thing
one-way
here,
trip.
too, you know what? I tell you something. If you've got kids, bring them down to the Air Museum, because this is it's really awe-inspiring to see all these neat things that your kids probably read about in their elementary schools.
Exactly.
So.
Lion Air Museum at John Wayne Airport. So we've got Phil Immel, the guru, Prudential California Realty, soon to be Berkshire Hathaway. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing great.
So I wanted to ask you, you've been in business now over 3 decades. I hate to call you out, but it's been, 35 years?
Almost 39. So
39 years. So you've seen half a dozen defined economic cycles throughout your career. And I just wanted to ask you a question about that. Obviously, there's been highs and lows for anyone in business for that length of time, including myself coming up on 3 decades. And I'm curious, do you see, as we come out of the Great Recession, the same trend lines in terms of our recovery, or is this new territory?
Well, what I've seen over the years, and by the way, some of them now call me a real estate dinosaur. I tell them to speak up so I can hear them better. But no.
Well, you've actually seen some of these planes fly, didn't you?
Those were my taxi cabs in the day. In any event, what I've seen, Rob, is over the years that every up cycle and down cycle. I started in 1975, got licensed at 19 years old, majored in real estate. So what I've seen is a lot in these decades. And every cycle up and down is fairly predictable somewhat, but at the same time, each down cycle has a different set of variables, and every up cycle has a different set of variables. And I was talking to one of my partners yesterday that they said, have you ever seen a recovery in real estate like we're seeing this year? And I said, I've seen recoveries probably 3 times, but the dynamics are so different. Today, interest rates are around 3.5%, 3.7%. In 1981, interest rates for FHA VA were 16.5%, and conforming loans were 18.5%.
Right.
So if you just think about the range of just interest rates and buyer affordability and those variables, it's dynamic change. So there's a lot of interesting parts moving.
Hey, Phil, there's this word we hear out there called the boomerang buyer. And so tell me about what that is. What's the boomerang buyer? And in your line of work where you're selling the luxury homes, do you see it prevalent in that boomerang buyer group?
Right. I think Ron probably has a tremendous amount of, Ron Quintero, our next speaker here, has got a lot of experience in this. In fact, we used to be next door neighbors, as a matter of fact, in Nelligale in the day. And but what I'm seeing today is not so much at the luxury end of the buyer for the boomerang buyer, but a lot of people who did short sales, might have gone through bankruptcy and things like that. Let's remember this recession is pretty much going 6 to 7 years ago. And if you've had dings on your credit between Fannie, Freddie, FHA, and other forms of lending, and you've healed from those wounds, you probably are able to go out and buy in a boomerang situation because now they've got new jobs again, perhaps, better cash flow, less debt if they went bankrupt or if they just short sale the house. So I know that's happening probably in the 500,000 range and below a lot more frequently than the luxury market.
It's so interesting, too, because in this recession, it's obviously touched everybody, every asset level, but it's so different than the previous generation. My parents' generation, my dad had one job, never had really economic trouble. There was certainly life moments that ebbed and flowed, but there was not the switching of careers, the finding of new careers, the bankruptcies, the foreclosures, the short sales, all of these heavy concentration of influences. It's a new world.
It really is, yeah.
So you're listening to Nelson Radio. I'm with my guest host, Mike Fell. We have Phil Immel, the guru from Berkshire Hathaway, with us. If you have questions, give us a shout. You can reach us at 888-888-2136. This is our live broadcast from the Lion Air Museum down at John Wayne Airport. It's Lion Air's tribute to the military aviator. 888-888-2136 to find out more, or click on nelsonradio.com. Let me ask you, with motivated sellers, obviously, Mike, values have come up. What are you seeing is what's motivating today's sellers, Phil?
Well, there's a lot of interesting subsets of that. For example, at the end of last year, before the tax rates went up for this year, I saw some extremely wealthy clients that I represented, some of them billionaires, literally, and they just unloaded a beachfront property that was listed at $9.5 million with me, and we had an offer at $6.5 million. First offer, and they didn't even counter it. They just took it because they didn't want to get stuck with all the extra tax. And, they're pushing age of 90 years old. So that kind of situation happened to motivate year-end. We had a lot of sales at year-end that ordinarily we did not.
It sounds like an attorney's world, taking $3 million less just because they don't want the tax issues, huh? Is
that what we're doing now? We're ripping on attorneys, huh? You going to join that boat?
Yeah.
But the other segment I'm seeing, Rob, is that we're seeing a lot of the empty nester syndrome start again in the business, where they've had the big family home. When they get a kid in about sophomore, junior year of high school, their last child, they're ready to move on and get rid of that big house with all the moving parts and kind of downsize, look for a beach house. So seeing a lot of demographic interesting changes happening out there.
Hey, Guru, let's talk about the underwater homes. It says, so I hear, that they are declining nationwide. Tell me how equity, if at all, is restoring itself.
Well, this market did a 180 turn in terms of values, not just in
about a year ago, right?
Yeah, less than a year ago. I'd say probably starting in about the fall, maybe late summer, until now. So we're about maybe 6 to 9 months into this. That all of a sudden, all the foreclosures and everything, the spigot shut off for that inventory. We hit a crisis of inventory, meaning listings of homes for sale. And as soon as that inventory shrunk and the banks really slowed that tap down, the demand increased because the interest rates, remember, are around 3.5%, even in some jumbo products, and compared to the 18% I mentioned earlier. So just the affordability factor is good. So a whole rush of buyers came in and said, is this the bottom of interest rates and values? And they started jumping on the bus really quickly. That created a frenzy of activity, which is still very live today. And now today we're getting multiple offers at all price points. If you have a listing that's 500 and below, we just sold 3 of them this past week. We had 10 to 15 multiple offers on these things. People vying for it. They go for overbid. It's just nuts. It's a little scary because of what we've all experienced historically. But again, low interest rates, affordability, really great right now.
Phil Immel from
Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company. Yeah, we're converting in the third quarter this year.
I'm just going to say Prudential California Realty.
Yeah.
Just say from the law office of Michael L. Fell. Could you do that?
There you go. Our guru, our real estate guru, Phil Immel. Thanks for being with us, Phil. This is Nelson Radio. We have got a great segment coming up. We've got the founder and CEO of our real estate radio network talking about the difficulties of bankruptcies and how to come back from them. You can reach us anytime by calling direct at 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. And come down to the Lion Air Museum at John Wayne Airport, an incredible tribute to the aviators of World War II. 888-888-2136, or find out more at nelsonradio.com. We'll be right back.